So that basically means I have to take the last letter from this, D. There went the prompt. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing my June TBR. Alright, before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is a queer book you're reading this month, because it is Pride Month, and of course, even though I shockingly will not be doing any readathons this month, I do have to try and read as many gay books as possible. I unfortunately just think I'm a little bit burnt out on readathons right now. I've done so many lately, and I do think my reading is starting to suffer because of it a little bit. I really found myself wanting to mood read as the month went on in April. So on one hand, I would love to say this is going to be a really relaxed TBR, but on the other hand, yeah, I just don't do that. So starting out, as per usual, let's first dive into my jars. So if you're new here, hi, I have two TBR jars. I have one for prompts for my physical shelves and one for prompts for my digital shelves. Starting out, let's do the physical shelf. I think this is physical, pretty sure. Okay, so right down the middle, we are gonna draw this one. What's this? A friend's currently reading. Crap, this is gonna be really hard. Let me figure out how I can look at these. Okay, I did figure out how to do this. So let me actually start screen recording now. Okay. All right, so obviously this is all of my friends on Goodreads and what books they are currently reading. Like I said, this is gonna be a little difficult. I probably am gonna try and scroll through and find a book that I own, is on my TBR, and hopefully is queer. Okay, so right out of the get-go, apparently Michelle is reading Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade right now. I do own, technically is on my TBR. I tried previously but DNF'd, and I want to try again. Not queer though, so if I can't find anything else, I'm gonna be reading Spoiler Alert apparently. Rowan is reading The Thursday Murder Club, also on my TBR. I don't think it's queer though. Okay, next page. If we'll load. Perfect. Okay, so Abigail Rexroad is reading Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo right now, which is on my TBR. I think it's on my 10 books to get read in 2023, and I know it's queer, so that works out. I just have to find this book now. Ha! Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I picked this up at a little free library quite a while ago. I'll put a link to that video in the cards. This is a book that is pretty outside my comfort zone because the book itself is told in verse, which on one hand is nice because that means this will be a faster read, but on the other hand, I don't really like books in verse. I don't like poetry. We just have never gotten along in the entirety of my life, but whenever I saw this at a little free library, a new hardcover, and I mean, like, the naked hardback is stunning of this book. I couldn't resist. I guess this is finally going to be what pushes me into reading it and trying something out that is definitely outside my comfort zone and officially seeing whether or not I do enjoy this. I believe this is following two girls whose father passed away in a plane crash shortly after 9/11, which is in fact based on an actual plane crash. However, these girls don't know about one another. Their father had one family in New York City and another family in, I want to say, the Dominican Republic. Yes. So they end up finding out about each other after their father's death, and I assume they attempt to have some sort of a sisterly relationship. I believe one of the sisters is bisexual, which is where the LGBT plus rep comes in. I'm a little nervous for this, I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully it'll be a fairly fast read. I have heard to check out the audiobook, which I will be doing, so physical book off of a friend's currently reading. One down. So then next we have my digital shelves. I have actually added a few new prompts into this lately, so if you have any ideas for prompts though, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I always need more. Okay, what's this? That was a terrible way to do that. Last letter to first letter. Ooh, okay. I had the physical version of this in March. No, in April. Yeah, in April. So now I have the digital version. Okay, so that basically means I have to take the last letter from this, D. There went the prompt. Now I have to find some book on my digital shelves that starts with the letter D and is queer. Let's see if we can do it. For the sake of this, I won't include the as like the first word, we'll see if that helps. You know, I'm gonna make things a little bit easier on myself, and I'm gonna go to my story graph, because on story graph you can actually mark books as LGBT+. That means I can filter this list a little bit and make things a little bit easier on myself. The death I gave him, I would love if I had an arc of this, because I've requested one from NetGalley, because then it would work. Also, this book is supposed to be like it's either Hamlet or Macbeth. It's a retelling of one of those, and I'm so intrigued. Very unfortunate that that does not work. Still nothing. This might be harder than I was anticipating. Apparently, not a lot of books start with D. The Dark Tide by 𝗖cieः𝘁𝘁. I actually own this also, so like technically I could do it. I know for a fact it's sapphic, and excluding the "the," it starts with a D. I'm gonna look a little bit further, and if I can't find anything else, I will choose that. Dead Girls by 𝗖cieः𝘁𝘁. I do own this as well. This one I didn't realize was LGBT+, but it's like a cozy mystery set during the Harlem Renaissance, and I am really intrigued by it. But again, I own it, so technically it would be from my physical shelves, not from my digital shelves. Doesn't really count. Ooh, okay. Dreadnought by April Daniels. This is apparently a YA sci-fi that is queer. I have no idea why this is on my TBR. And then, do we have any others? No. Okay, so Dreadnought by April Daniels. This is the first book in the Nemesis series. Again, I have no idea how this came to be on my TBR. Let me check it on Goodreads and see if like any of my friends have read it. That may be why. Oh, Annie read it. Origin story with the story of a trans girl's search for freedom to be herself. Oh, that sounds cute. Ah, awesome. Okay, it is available on Cloud Library as well as Hoopla, so I can read it digitally from my library. Looks like it's gonna have to be an ebook, which thankfully this is a fairly short read, so works out perfectly. Okay, so we have our TBR jars finished. However, of course this is not the only things I have on my TBR. Starting at the top, let's discuss the mini book clubs I'm going to be partaking in this month, which may or may not be a mistake. First up, for my personal book club, we are going to be reading Alice Isn't Dead by Joseph Fink. And this is a horror book in which we are following a woman who is trying to find her missing wife and ends up becoming a truck driver to search the country in order to do so. I believe the reason she got into this was because she saw her wife actually on the news, even though she's been missing for months, and that reinvigorated her, gave her hope that her wife was actually out there, and now she is trying to find her. I'm very intrigued on where the horror elements are going to come into, because that seems more like a thriller, but from reviews I have seen, apparently Joseph Fink does some really weird things, and I'm intrigued. I've never heard anything about this book or this author. Then I am going to be partaking in Jan's Full Moon book club, and this month we are going to be reading Wayward by Amelia Hart. This one, I've gone back and forth on whether or not I'm interested in it, because this cover is stunning. I don't know. It sounds like a witchy read, but it didn't really seem different enough to get my attention. I have heard a lot of positive reviews lately though, which has sort of sparked my interest, and then when Jan picked it for her book club, I figured, why not? I'll go ahead and read it. It looks like the story alternates between 3 different time periods in which we're following different women who are sort of witchy or have like some sort of ability, power. I'm not really sure. It sounded very reminiscent to The Witch's Daughter, which I read a few years ago. Kind of why I didn't originally pick it up, but I've heard so many positive things now. I'm intrigued. What can I say? I do believe one of the perspectives has a sapphic romance also, which means this continues with my theme of queer books. The single book I am currently planning to read, which is not queer, is Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and this is for the Story Continued book club. This is a King Arthur retelling, I suppose, that has been everywhere. Everywhere. I've known so many people who have hyped this book up, and I have been intrigued but also terrified because of that. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, and we are following this girl whose mother has recently passed. She is like an early admittance to a college or something, but one day she sees like a bunch of students attacking somebody, and then they use magic to remove the memory from everyone else except for her. or like it doesn't work on her or something. I do also know this has a love triangle, which I'm not particularly looking forward to, but I've wondered for so long, what is all the hype about? And now that it has kind of died down a little, I think it's finally time, and it works out well that this will be a pick for a book club so I can hear everybody else's thoughts also. Finally, not a book club, but technically a buddy read. I am going to be buddy reading Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir with my friend Allie. I bought this for her recently, and because of that, I've been really hoping we could buddy read it, and that way it'll finally force me to actually read this book because I've put it on numerous TBRs now, and it just hasn't happened. Sci-fi fantasy, lesbian necromancers in space is how this is often sold. I believe it also has a bit of a mystery, and I've been told you are going to be confused. It makes me both very excited and very nervous. Our mutual friend Molly absolutely adores this series, so here's hoping that the both of us enjoy it. Otherwise, I think Molly will unfriend us. I've also come to understand that apparently Gideon is sort of like a female himbo. I'm really into that. This also tops 450 pages, meaning it will constitute my big book for the month. Then for another one of my goals I set every single month, a nonfiction book, I am going to read They Called Us Enemy by George Takei. This is a graphic memoir that I've wanted to read for some time now, but I am also a little nervous for this, more so because it's going to make me cry. It is detailing George's life when he was a child and actually lived in a concentration camp during World War II in America. I feel like this is a very small TBR because it's only 7 books, and that just seems like so few. Like I said, I think I could use a little mood reading time this month, so it's taking a lot for me to not add more books to this TBR. Unfortunately though, this is the stack. Only 2 books off my physical shelves, which isn't great, but we're gonna deal. Alright y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!